All right. Amy, if you are ready.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here this morning. I'm really excited to be talking to you today about person-centered thinking and self-advocacy. I am not gifted in coming up with catchy titles, so that's where we are. Every time I kept seeing the title that we had, I was like, that's so horrible. But a really, really important session. And I'm so glad that you took time out of your day to be here today. So my name is Amy Day. I am a program coordinator at the Center on Disability and Development. I work with Vanessa and Eric. I am a trained, certified person-centered thinking trainer through the Institute for Person-Centered Practices. And the Institute is a collaborative project between Texas A&M and the UT Center for Disability Studies. So it's a great relationship that we have together. We've all been certified through the learning community for person-centered practices. And the learning community is an international community of people who use person-centered practices to help people have better lives. And it's cool to see how person-centered thinking is spreading all over the world. So every year we have annual gatherings. And at our annual gathering this year, we were learning how South Korea is beginning to use person-centered thinking and person-centered practices to support individuals with disabilities. So it's really cool. We have trainers in the United States, in Canada, in the UK, and Australia. I am also an ambassador for Charting the Life course, and I will be showing you their website at the end of today's presentation, and I do have one of their tools that I use very frequently when it comes to person-centered planning. And my most important job is that of being a mom. These are my two really cool teenagers, John and Ty. John with the tie. He is my comedian. He has a really sarcastic sense of humor that gets him into a lot of trouble at school. He is my musician and my athlete, and he has ADHD. And my youngest is Ty. He's the one that looks like he's the oldest. He is my artist. He is the kindest person you will ever meet. He's very empathetic. He loves to help people, and he is autistic. I use identity first language when I talk about my son's disability, because at home we think that him being autistic is an inherent part of who he is. And he has given me permission to share his story today. So anything that I discuss today, he has told me, yes, Mom, please use it to help other people learn. Okay, so let's get started. Eric, if you wouldn't mind putting up the poll, I'd like to see who is here today. Are you from TWC? Are you an educator? Let's see what we got going on here. Transition. ER counselors, ESC, teachers. This is really fun to see it in real time. Transition coordinators, ER counselors. All right, almost there, 70% voted. All right, so about half of you are ISD transition coordinators. Awesome. Got a couple teachers, a couple family members. Okay, that's great. All right, well, so I am really happy that you're all here today. And I'm going to make sure that I cover a little bit for everybody. Okay, so person-centered thinking is not something that we just use for people who have disabilities. It applies to anyone. You can use it anywhere. So if you, as I'm going about, if you see something and you're wondering like, well, how would this apply to where I'm working, you know, please post it in the chat. And then when I get to the end, then we can go through it and I can go back and discuss, you know, how that would apply to you at your work. All right, thank you, Eric. Okay. So this is Ty when he was about 10 years old. And Ty had really a pretty typical school experience. He really enjoyed going to school up until 5th grade. In 5th grade, he had a lot of changes to his school life. He had the same paraprofessional for about 3 years, and it was somebody that he really, really loved. In the beginning of 5th grade, he was no longer able to work with her. She provided one-on-one support, so they were together a lot. He got a new paraprofessional. We also got a new principal, a new vice principal. It was just a lot of changes for him going from 4th to 5th grade. So we started to see some changes in his behavior. And these behaviors started to escalate to the point where he was beginning to be restrained at school. And that was not anything that we had ever had happen before. And the behaviors that he was having at school, he started to have at home. And I didn't know what was going on. I didn't really know how to support him best. So we came together as an IEP team and, decided, okay, well, what are we going to do? We did a functional behavior analysis to see what was going on. We reevaluated his IEP. We came up with a new reward system. We realized that the relationship with that new paraprofessional was not a good relationship. They didn't get along well. And so that person kind of ended up being a trigger for him. So we also decided to change his paraprofessional to someone who more closely resembled the person that had provided support for the past 3 years. So someone who was a grandmother type person, someone who just kind of had a very calm demeanor. And things got a little bit better, but it just wasn't the same. And it got to the point where he was kicked out of his summer camp that he had been going to for several years because of his anger issues and him just, having these, as he calls them on here, tantrums. And it just so happened that this was the beginning of my journey into person-centered thinking. And I attended my very first gathering, and that's where I met Dr. Karen Harvey. And I'm going to show a video about Dr. Karen Harvey, but actually, let me just go ahead and show the video. All right, so this is Dr. Harvey, and the little snippet that I'm going to show you right now is what really hit me, what really got me in my mom heart that made me start crying during her presentation.
That's a very important concept that Francine Shapiro introduced, who just recently passed away. And she is was an expert on trauma. And she said that not only do the big T traumas, so we know that if you see a history of physical abuse, sexual abuse, horrible repeated foster care placements or institutionalization, you know that that's serious trauma. But she says the small traumas also add up. So like the bullying, the smaller rejections, the loss, the not fitting in, the not being included, the being discriminated against, time after time. She said those smaller traumas actually add up and in many cases can result in post-traumatic stress disorder and can be just as significant as the larger traumas. Oh, I told people when I first heard John McGee, it was the most validating thing, that I was really struggling in this field. I'd been in the field for a little while and kept thinking, this doesn't make sense. What are these people talking about? This makes no sense at all. Controlling behaviors, managing behaviors. Why are you even saying that? It's horrible. And then, when I heard John and he talked about love and he talked about caring and he talked about listening and he talked about respecting and relationship, I was like, yes, yes, this is what it's about. And then the safety piece is so critical because of course, my area being trauma and supporting people's development and growth of identity, safety is everything. You cannot heal from trauma until you feel safe. And I believe that every single person with a disability has had trauma. Just the condition of having a disability on this planet, you know, that's trauma. And you need to feel safe. If you're even going to begin the healing process, you need to know you're emotionally safe. So safety, you know, we have all kinds of measures of safety, but true safety is that you're with people that you know care about you, that aren't going to hurt you, and that are going to respect you. And that's true safety.
All right. So that was my aha moment, right? Hearing Dr. Harvey talk about the little T trauma and the big T trauma, because that wasn't something that I had considered at all. You know, yes, he was being restrained at school, but he wasn't being restrained for like long periods of time, and he was being restrained in the proper way, right? So that wasn't anything that ever hit me as something that could be causing trauma to him. And I didn't consider how just those actions was causing him to lose trust in the people that really, really needed to have that trust with him so that he could feel safe at school. I mean, he was physically trying to run out of school. You know, he was telling us that he didn't feel safe, that he didn't feel that we cared about him, because we were so focused on the behavior and keeping him safe, right? That we just kind of kept coming down harder and harder. You know, well, now you got to have somebody walk with you in the hallways, you know, and so we were taking away more and more of his power. And so Dr. Harvey helped me to see that instead of asking, you know, what are you doing? Right, that I needed to ask, listen to him and ask, what is really bothering me? And so with the traditional approaches that we were using, they were, you know, completely opposite of what Dr. Harvey is telling us that we need to do when it comes to using trauma-informed support. Right, so we need to focus on helping him feel emotionally safe and physically safe. And we needed to focus on supporting those relationships with the teachers that are around him. And so, you know, how does this all relate to transition? Right, all of us, you know, working with the transition field. If I had not used person-centered thinking to help my son heal from the trauma that he had, right, I would still be focused on health and safety. And he would not be where he is today, right? He wouldn't have had that growth, becoming a strong self-advocate, becoming empowered, learning how to have conversations with people to tell them what he's feeling and how he wants to be supported. Those are all the things that we've been able to accomplish using trauma-informed intervention and person-centered thinking approaches. So this slide, Dr. Harvey shared during her presentation, and this was something that really, really spoke to me because it was a visual that I was able to take back to our team. And so when he started 6th grade and we had our staffing meeting, I was able to physically take this to everybody on the team and say, you know what, I know that academics are important, but because of what occurred last year, these are the 3 things that I really want us to focus on. I want us to help him build connections at school. Because when he was in 5th grade, he was pushing people away. Right? He didn't want to play with kids in the playground. These are the kids that he had gone to school with for many, many years. And that really hurt. That made me really sad. That was another thing that I did wrong was, you know, I remember sitting there with my team saying, well, you know what, I feel like we need to make a social skill goal of making friends. You know, let's force him to make friends and play with other kids in the playground. That's not what he wanted, right? He didn't feel safe. And I was trying to force that connection. And it wasn't going to happen until he felt safe. When he felt safe, then he was able to open up and connect with his peers and connect with his teachers. Right, so this slide was pivotal in us as a team being able to focus on what we wanted to do. So this all was the beginning of my training, becoming a person-centered thinking trainer. This is the very first one-page profile that I created for Ty. And a one-page profile is a quick snapshot of the things that that person needs to be happy, comforted, and fulfilled, and the great things about them. Because when people are meeting my son, I want him to be judged by who he is on a typical day than who he is on his worst day. I didn't want that negative reputation following him. You know, what does it say in his record? Did it say that he was a runner? Did it say that, he was a kid that would go in the classroom and start throwing desks and ripping up papers, right? Or does it say that he's really friendly and he's imaginative and he's really funny? He likes to make people laugh. And then it also says how that person wants to be supported. So this was our first one-page profile, and it had pretty good information, but it was still pretty superficial because I hadn't learned how to dig deeper yet. So this is what his one-page profile looks like now. We're going to look into this a little bit more. But this is now his one-page profile. He knows that this is his, that he is the one that tells me when things need to come out of here, when we need to add new things in. Every once in a while he'll say, Mom, can you put in my one-page profile that teachers can't tell me what to do? And so we have conversations about, helping him find a balance of important to and important for. And I'll explain what that means in a little bit. But, so going back to that first piece of perceived safety. So for Ty, what that means is that he wants to be called Ty and not Christopher. So Christopher became a trigger for him. His name wasn't a trigger before. And then in 5th grade, it was something that began to trigger him. And so letting people know, right, this one-page profile, all his teachers get it. When he was little, the ladies at the lunch line would get it. The bus driver gets it. So anyone who might support Ty will know that that calling him Ty helped him feel respected. And when he was younger, it was an automatic trigger. He would automatically get upset. But now that we've had several years of him learning that this is something that's really important to him, he'll say, please call him Ty. And if a person keeps making that mistake, it's something that really kind of messes with his relationship, because with him it goes back to feeling respected. He'll say doesn't that person respect me to call me by what I want to be called, Ty? So such a little thing, but something that really does make a big difference when it comes to safety and building relationships. It's really important that we support his ability to make choices. And when he was little, they were smaller choices. Now he's in 9th grade, and they're big choices, because working with adults with disabilities in post-secondary education, I see these young adults come through graduating that haven't had the opportunity to make choices in their life, and haven't had the opportunity to make big choices in their life. So all of a sudden, here they are, an adult, and mom and dad have been making all of their educational choices, and now they got to do it. And it's a struggle if you haven't had the chance to practice when you have that support when you're younger, right? So one of the choices that he made this year so far is his support minutes. So he does still have paraprofessional support, and we had a certain number of minutes built into his IEP, but that wasn't working for him. And he was telling us that wasn't working for him, because he would say, why did this person follow me into this class? And so his teacher, came up to me and said, hey, I think we need to change these minutes around. And I said, okay, great. Let's have a conversation with Ty. Can you please go talk to Ty and tell him, when does he feel he needs that paraprofessional support? And when does he think he's good to go? So he had that conversation with him, and Ty actually came up with the exact same plan that the teacher had come up with. He knew when he needed more help and when he didn't need more help. And I mean, that is huge for him to be able to think about it, decide when he needed it, when he didn't. Another choice that he made was right now deciding what classes he wanted to take. So he's taking Chinese, and that's a big struggle for him, all of the writing. And we see that he's getting really, really frustrated in Chinese. So he's decided he doesn't want to do Chinese now, but he is really interested in doing tennis because he has some friends that are in tennis. Right. And so the mom and me, I'm like, oh, you know, do I let him just quit Chinese? You know, should I force him to do Chinese? I'm like, would I force my older son to stay in a class if he didn't really want to do it? You know, if he wanted to try something different, I wouldn't. And I don't need to do that with him, right? So helping him find a balance for himself to know he needs those experiences to, you know, be able to make decisions in the future, to be able to try new things, right? So that's really important when it comes to empowering him. And when it comes to helping him build connections, he feels respected when people look at him, when he's talking to him. Again, another little thing, but he knows that it is something that makes him happy. And he will tell me, you know, if he's trying to have a conversation with me and I'm on my phone and I'm going, he'll say, Mom, please look at me. I'm like, I'm sorry. Yes, honey, what were you saying? Right, so teachers that know that and do that really help to help them feel like they can be trusted and to make those connections. Another thing that we focus on when we're talking about perceived safety is the tone of voice that people use around him. So tone of voice is a trigger. I'm sure many of you know students where a tone of voice is a trigger to them. And so, you know, my husband is telling me, I can hear him, you know, well, we can't tell people to be quiet all the time. You know, that's not real life. But for a teacher to know that tone of voice is a trigger for him, right? It will make him go into fight or flight. And he is a fighter. That's what he does in those moments. Then they are able to think, okay, I'm either going to let him know that I'm about to raise my voice so he has enough time to like get ready, cover his ears, or if I can't let him know ahead of time, I need to check back with him and say, hey, you're safe. You know, I had to raise my voice because of this. And at the same time, we're still working with him to get him to understand why people use tone and to help him not be so triggered when it comes to that. And it's made a big difference. But just knowing that the teacher knows that he needs that support is something that helps him feel safe, but it is also something that helps him build connections because he knows I'm in this classroom, this teacher cares about how I feel, and she's going to use this support to help me have a good day in her classroom. Or he can say, in this classroom, this person yells and I don't feel safe. And then he's going to be telling us with his behavior, I don't trust this teacher, I'm struggling here. All right, so that's when I come in as the mom and I go, okay, you know, it seems like we're having an issue here. Let's sit down and talk about it. And it's, you know, before it was me talking to the teacher, and now it's me encouraging him to talk to the teacher. And then another thing that's really important about building connections with him is that if he has a rough day, it's really important that he still knows that he's a good person. Because when he's going into fight or flight, his brain will bring back any memory of a previous time where he went into fight or flight. And then he starts to feel sad and angry at himself for losing control. And one of the things that he will do is he will hit himself in the head to try to get those memories to come out. Right? So teachers knowing that this is a support he needs helps to build that connection and build a really strong relationship, because he says, you know, I know that they care about me. They're telling me I'm still a good person. You know, everybody has rough days. It's okay. Okay. So this is a quick video about Ty. And this is a video that we made for the Department of State Health Services about person-centered thinking. And he had fun helping me choose the background. We got some Pokemon back there, which is one of his favorite games to play. And he's going to talk a little bit about person-centered thinking.
Hi, my name is Ty. I have a short name because I love the letter T. Being called Ty is important to me and it makes me happy. Over to you, Mom.
Hi, I'm Amy. I'm Ty's mom, and I'm also a certified person-centered thinking trainer. We use person-centered practices to help others learn how Ty wants to be supported at school. One of the things that helps Ty have a great day at school is when people call him by his nickname. So Ty, do you think that I became a better mom after I learned how to listen to you and understand the things you need in your life to be happy, comforted, and fulfilled?
Of course, it helped our relationship better. I feel like I could trust you.
And do you think that I learned how to ask questions about how you want to be supported?
Yes, I am glad you finally understood.
So how did your one-page profile help you to have a better relationship with your teachers?
Good question. They understand how I feel, they do their very best to educate me, and they learn how I sometimes use my behavior to communicate.
Right. And sometimes in the past, adults responded to your behavior in a way that made things worse. Isn't that right?
You are right.
Right. But after teachers read your one-page profile, right, and your communication chart, they learned how to respond in a way that made you feel safe and respected.
Yes, that is correct.
So Ty, what's your favorite part about your one-page profile?
It makes me, that reading what other people said are great things about me.
Right. And why is that your favorite part?
It makes me feel respected.
Right. Reading great things about you makes you happy, right? So tell everyone, who has control of your one-page profile and your person's
I do.
description? You do, right. So you tell me when to update it and change things, right?
Yes, that's just what I was going to say.
Perfect. Last thing, do you have any advice for people who are just starting to learn about person-centered thinking?
Yes, ma'am, I do. Be very friendly. You have to listen well. Think before you speak or act. Do not say you promise unless it will actually happen. Here's some advice. Do not lie. If you break that promise, they won't rely on you anymore.
Thank you, Ty. You are a great teacher.
You're very welcome. So the life lesson is, do not say you promise unless it will actually happen. Because if you pretend like it's going to happen and they find out that it's not, then you know what the consequence is. They don't trust you anymore.
Yes, and that's a big consequence. Thank you, Ty.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Yes, that whole last bit, he just made that up at the end. So that's one of the ways I know that he's understanding what we're doing, is that he teaches other people, you know, what it means to be person-centered. So Eric, if you'll put up the second poll, I've been using the word person-centered thinking a lot. I'd like to see how many people know what that means, and how many of you have heard of person-centered planning, or neither. Awesome. It's funny how exciting it is to see the numbers change. Anna, yes, the video is available on YouTube. I'll get the link to Vanessa and they can share it with y'all. Okay. All right. So just as I anticipated, not very many people have heard of person-centered thinking, but about 40% of you have heard of person-centered thinking and person-centered planning. So that's good. So I guess with those two added, the number's better.
But so overall, pretty good. So what is person-centered thinking? So when I think of person-centered thinking, I think of it as an intentional approach to develop strong relationships. And we use person-centered thinking to have respectful listening, to listen to people telling us what they want in their lives and what they want happen in their lives, right? What they want us to do, how they want to be supported. It gives people the control over their lives instead of it being, us, the team, deciding what the student needs. It's the student telling us what they need and what they want accomplished. It helps us to see who is in their life and how can we support them to develop more relationships in their lives so that the support that they have, when they graduate, that it's not all 100% paid supports, that we're helping them prepare for a life where they have those people in their lives, those friends, the people that they can call and say, hey, I had a flat tire, would you mind giving me a ride? I'm having a hard time with my girlfriend, you got any advice, right? So making sure that it's not just paid supports in their life. And let's see, clicker. All right. And so the person-centered thinking skills are skills that we know work for everybody. And as I mentioned, this isn't just for people with disabilities, right? Person-centered thinking is used in end-of-life planning. It's used in schools. It's used in many different organizations with people that don't have disabilities. And it helps us to see that we believe everybody can learn. Everybody has a choice. And the biggest thing is that it does help us support people rather than fix people. Ooh, cool, somebody took a training, that's awesome. All right, so if we were doing a full person-centered thinking training, you would get to learn all these skills. Unfortunately, I have about 20 minutes. So what I'm gonna focus on is the main skill, which is important to, important for, and helping you find a balance. You have these group of skills over here, which are called the discovery and listening skills. And these are skills that I use every day automatically without thinking of it. Right? And some of these things are actual forms, but we want people to get to the point where you don't need a form to do this stuff. This is just something that you automatically do. So if I'm trying to get feedback from a teacher, I might send them an email and say, hey, can you tell me what a good day looks like for my son in your classroom? What does a bad day look like for my son in your classroom? If you are a TWC counselor, right, you can have a chat with an employer and say, hey, can you tell me what a good day looks like for this person at work and what a bad day looks like? Right, if they're struggling and you want to get more information, because we don't want to fix people, we want to support them, right? Those are the skills that we use. I will be sharing Ty's communication chart, which is probably one of the biggest pieces of information that when the teachers get, they're overwhelmed, but at the same time, they're like, wow, this is really cool. And then the group of skills over here, the everyday learning skills, are the skills that we use once we've kind of put things into play. Then these are the skills that we use to evaluate things, right? So we decide what's working and not working. I actually sat down yesterday with Ty because he was struggling in Chinese. So I'm telling him, tell me what's working for you in Chinese, what's not working for you in Chinese. And then I could ask the teacher, what is working for him in your classroom, what is not working for him in your classroom. And then we can see, okay, everybody agrees on this, but we're disagreeing on here. So that's where we can focus on to try to make some changes. And again, it helps to support. And then the donut skills and the matching skills, those are the management skills that we use to decide like who works best with this person, or to figure out specifically what are the different things that people need to do. right? What is this, for example, a paraprofessional, what is this paraprofessional? What are their core responsibilities when it comes to supporting my son? And what are the things that they have a little bit of flexibility to be able to try different things to support him? So that core concept of important to and important for and finding the balance is what I'm hoping that you will be able to leave with today. So that you can look at a situation and ask yourself, what is important to this person in this moment? What is important for this person in this moment? And how can I help them find that balance? So when I'm talking about important to, those are the things that we have in our lives because they bring us comfort, they help us feel fulfilled, they bring us happiness and joy. And some of the things that we look at, the questions that we ask about are the people in their lives, the relationships that they have, right? What brings them purpose and meaning? Right? When we're trying to think of jobs, right? I know that I absolutely love my job because it brings me purpose and meaning. Like helping people every day is the reason that I go to work. And so how often is that something that we look at when we're talking about planning for employment? You know, what brings that purpose, that person a sense of purpose and meaning. Rituals and routines is something that's also really important to look at for everyone, but especially important to look at when we are trying to listen to someone who doesn't use words to communicate. Because although my son does use words to communicate, if he didn't, I would still be able to find how he wants to be supported. And we do that by observing people. And we do that by having conversations with the people that know them really well. Right? What are those close relationships? What do they know works for that person? What makes that person happy? And we can still do person-centered planning even if they don't use words to communicate. What are the things in their life that they just love having? Right? So for me, I love to collect coffee cups from the different places that I visit. And that's not something that my husband likes. So he's constantly talking to me about what's up with all these coffee cups and putting them away. And he doesn't realize that I have a morning ritual, a morning coffee ritual that has to do with my coffee cups. Because I don't just pick a cup nilly-willy. You know, I decide, do I want to think about my family in Puerto Rico? Right? My culture is very important to me. Am I going to reach for that Puerto Rico cup? Am I going to reach for my cup in Portland when I went to my first gathering? Right? Am I going to reach for my cup from my boarding school in Switzerland? Do I want to think about when I was a fun 16-year-old getting to go skiing whenever I wanted and having fun? Right? There's a whole ritual to that. Sorry. Okay, so when we're looking at Ty, one of the things that's really important to him are his colored pencils. He collects colored pencils, and he has probably about 360. And they're so important to him that he takes them to school every single day. Another thing that's important to him is for people to be happy, right? So if somebody's sad or upset, he wants to comfort them. Now, one of the things about important too is that we're not just asking what is currently in their life, we're also asking what's missing. What is something that you want to bring you joy and you don't have, right? That's something that we need to help you find. And if what they're telling us is in conflict with what they're doing, right? So if they're telling us that it's important to them to run every day, and they're not running every day, right? Then we need to pay attention to that behavior and ask why. Because sometimes we make assumptions. We say, okay, this person, they said they like to run. So here's a treadmill, and you can run for 2 miles every day, and they don't use it. Right? Then we probably didn't dig deep enough to find out what they really enjoy is not just the running, but they enjoy being outside, like getting to hear the birds, getting to feel the wind, right? It's more than just running, right? So helping to dig deeper. And important 4 is the health and safety piece, which we're really good at figuring out what's important for people, our IEPs and our IPEs, right? All those plans that we create, a lot of them are focused on health and safety, what people need, right? Education, what they need, important for. So when we're talking about Ty, as I mentioned, it's important for him, for people to remind him that he's a good person. It helps with that emotional safety. Now there's a second part to important 4, which is what people need to be seen as a valued member of their community. And one of the important 4s that we did for Ty was he loves to play Pokemon Go, but when Pokemon Go came out 4 years ago, I didn't realize that there were a lot of social rules that he had to learn. And it's a game that you play on your phone. So the first time he went to the park, he ran up to a stranger and grabbed their phone because he wanted to see what Pokemon they caught. And that freaks people out, right? To have a kid run up to you and grab your phone. So, so I had to take the time to help him learn those rules so that he could be a valued member of the Pokemon Go community, because it really is a community. People get together at the park and play. And had I not done that, people wouldn't want to meet with Ty and trade Pokemon or walk with him as he's catching Pokemon. You know, they would have said, here comes our kid, you know, let's hurry up and get out of here. So it really made a big difference, those social skills. So important 2 and important 4 are connected, and they influence each other. And when we're trying to force people to do something that they need for their health and their safety, and there's nothing important 2 about it that gives that hook, then that's basically, you know, forced choice. You know, we're telling people, you got to do this. So we have to take the time to discover what is the important 2 in the situation, so that we can take the thing that maybe they don't want to do and wrap it up with a thing that they want to have in their lives, right, and help them find that balance. So for example, for Ty, it was important for him to exercise, but he doesn't enjoy exercising. So one of the things that we did was he rides his bike, and he's not riding his bike for exercise, he's riding his bike to hatch Pokemon eggs. Right, so it's that important 2 of playing Pokemon Go wrapped around the important 4 of exercising every day, and he is happy to do it. Right? Instead of me saying, you need to go outside and do something. And he's like, I don't want to do that. But now he willingly does it. And when we're trying to come up with that balance, we don't want to fall in the trap of finding what's important to a person and then grabbing it and saying, you can't have this important 2 until you do this important 4, right? And we do that pretty often, right? Thinking about reward system in schools. Can't do this, can't have this thing that you really like until you do this. Then we're always going to be struggling. So these are just visuals, right? We don't want a life that's focused on important 4, which is kind of where I was with him in 5th grade. I was worried about him running away and about him harming himself and harming other people. We also don't want people to live a life that's just important 2. And so that's our students that you know, are all of a sudden in college, and mom and dad aren't around anymore to say, you know, soda is bad for you, or limiting their soda, and they're like, oh, I can have as much soda as I want now. Nobody's telling me that, right? So it's important to help them have that balance. All right, so we're just going to do a quick little activity on here. If you can use a chat, and these are Ty's room rules. What would you say is the main principle behind his rules? Right, so if we're looking at this through kind of a important 2, important 4 sort. Respect. Good job, Kayla. Yes. respect. Respect is huge, huge for Ty. So, right, a lot of funny rules, you know, my husband especially likes the no pulling people's pants down rule, right? But that's respect. No annoying sounds, respect. Taking off your shoes, that is a huge rule. If you walk in his room and your shoes are on, he's going to tell you, no bullying. Good, understanding. I see y'all are digging deeper. Good job. Okay, this is another quick one. What about this picture? How do you dig deep for this picture? Control of his own environment on the previous one. That's a good one, Chris. What do we think about this one? Encouragement and affirmation. Y'all are awesome. Look at that. I'm waiting for the one specific answer. Y'all are all picking the right answer. Okay, tell me what you think is the wrong answer. Because y'all are doing great. Support, encouragement, being positive, determination. Man, y'all are good. Nobody said the wrong answer yet. Okay, well, the wrong answer is basketball. Right, so if you were to look at this picture and think it's important, basketball is important to Ty, you would be wrong because he hates sports. He's not really a sports kid, but it is very important to Ty to have that support and encouragement, right? He's telling himself, I know I can do this, right? That's Ty, that's his self-talk. Those are us at the top. That's his brother with his glasses. So we have clues everywhere. These are all just, I mean, I see clues everywhere I look. And so here, this is an activity he did for class where he had to write things he's thankful for. And there's a lot of things on here, art tools, drawings, my world, where I could dig deeper. Okay. So digging deeper, right, peeling that onion means not taking things at a surface level, but right, digging deeper and asking, like, tell me more about that, right? If we're talking about their emotions, right, what makes you happy, angry, right? What does it look like when you're happy and angry? How can we help you so this doesn't happen again? Right, so thinking about as you are doing your transition planning, right? So he is in 9th grade, we've been going through transition planning. And a lot of that is focused on, like, what do you want to accomplish when you are an adult? Like, what are we going to do when you graduate? And I know, I don't know very many kids that are like, yep, I know exactly what I want to do. And you can go right from there, right? So it's about learning all this other stuff that is really, really vital to have a good plan in place. Right, so we're not just helping them for employment, but we're preparing them for a good life that they want to have. Sorry. Okay. I'm sorry, Eric. We're like a little behind schedule here. Right, so this was his first plan that he created for himself. And he was showing us at the beginning of 6th grade. That was the very first time that he ever told me he wanted to go to college, right? So this is a plan he wrote himself and a lot to dig deeper into, right? He gave me a whole bunch of ideas of things he wants to do and what he wants to do to have happiness in his life. So he wants to retire. And then I had a conversation about who are you going to be traveling with? So he told me he's going to be with his grandkids. So I knew, okay, well, that means you had a wife at some point. Right, so I know that you have all these jobs that you're interested in. I know that you want to travel. I know that you see yourself having a wife in the future. And I see yourself being a dad. There's a lot of information I got just from that one little piece of paper and having a good conversation. That is him using his one-page profile to talk during his art meeting. And this was a note that made me cry. Him thanking his paraprofessional that he doesn't need your help anymore. All right, let's get that. All right, another way that we have seen that using this person-centered approach when it comes to his transition planning is that we've seen a huge growth in independence. And I know that he would not be where he is today if I was still focused on health and safety, if I hadn't taken the time to think about the triangle that Dr. Harvey told me about, and helping him become a stronger self-advocate, helping him build those connections. So he decided he wanted to learn how to ride a bike, and he doesn't just ride a bike around our house. He rides a bike to campus. He had, over the summer, he had a whole routine where he would go over to the bike shop and hang out and talk. And he was making connections on his own, where people were like in McDonald's, they're like, hey, Ty, you know, what's up? What you doing today? He decided he wanted to join theater. So he's in theater and he was in a play. And we had a goal when he was younger of him learning how to budget. And so we were doing it in a school setting with points at school, right? So you earn points and you can buy something at the shop. And that really wasn't going anywhere. And then I found out about this green light debit card, and I got him a debit card. And so he earns money by doing chores at home. He gets paid every week, just like his older brother who has a job. He has his debit card. He's saving money aside to donate. And when he goes to the store, I mean, I'm basically transportation. I take him to the store, I wait in the car, and he goes in and he makes his purchases. Sometimes he comes out with a toy. Sometimes he comes out with Kleenex and paper clips. Right? So he's thinking about more than just, I'm going to buy a toy with this. You know, he's using the Walmart app to make his choices on what he wants for groceries and things like that. So this is a person-centered description that we've created, and it has a lot more information than a one-page profile. Right, so the great things and a little bit more in depth, the important to him and the supports he needs. The communication chart, so this is the tool. Could you imagine creating a communication chart for an employer, right? So here is your employee who may not use words to communicate, but this is the behavior, and this is how they're communicating with their behavior. Right? So for a quick example, rocking, he rocks this way or he rocks this way, and they're totally different. So this way is a good thing. He's calming himself. This way means that he is starting to get anxious, and he wants you to tell him, why is the room loud? Or if he's struggling with an assignment, what is it that you don't understand? How can I help you? And these are all his words. He's telling me how to do this. He typed it up this summer. One of the other ones is banging his head, right? So if he's banging his head with a book, most grown-ups are going to say, stop banging your head. That doesn't help him at all. But understanding that comes from frustration and being empathetic and saying, hey, Ty, what's up? How can I help you? Is how he wants to be supported. Sorry, I'm zooming through. And this is the matching. So this is my way of saying, if I could pick the perfect person to work with, this is what they would look like. Am I done, Eric? All right. So I'm going to do this real quick and then we'll go. So this is the life trajectory. I'm going to go on the Charting the Life course website to show you how you can download this tool. So this is the way that Ty was able to tell us how he felt he was going to be successful in the first 6 weeks of school. All right, so he told me what he wanted. He told me what he didn't want. He didn't want to lose trust. He didn't want to feel overprotective. Swearing is one of those things where he likes swear words, and he'll use swear words like just for fun, and he'll use swear words when he's frustrated, right? So so that's another way that I can, when he gets in the car and the swear words come out flying, I know that he's been holding them in all day because he's trying really, really hard not to swear at school. And then he told me the positive experiences he wanted to have this semester. And all of this is in the handout, so you can read them if you like. And then what he wanted to avoid, right? So he doesn't want to be afraid of the teacher raises their voice or lose their patience with him. He didn't want misunderstandings, what people are telling him. Okay, so, and this is just to show you, this is Shelby. She is a graduate of the PASS program and a graduate from Texas A&M University. And she's been using person-centered planning since 2014 to help her reach her goals as well. All right. I will share the link to Shelby's video where Shelby is explaining how she's used person-centered thinking to become a strong self-advocate. I apologize, everyone. I do want to show you the Charting the Life course website. Okay. So, Charting the Life course. Uh-oh. Did I break you, computer? Okay, here we go. All right, so go to Charting the Life course. I get to see all your local faces now. There it is. Okay. Can y'all see the life course? All right, so all of these tools are available for download for free. If you go to the life course library, and I believe it is Exploring Life Stages, I think. Let's see. Right, so hang out in this website, check it out. They have specific tools for transitioning to adulthood. And they have, oh my goodness, being slow again. Okay. And if you go to the tools, all of this is available to download for free. So you can get the life trajectory, download it. They have some one-page profiles that you can download. There is one, I'm sorry, I had it, here we go. No, that's not it. I had it pulled up earlier and I forgot to pull it up again. But there is one specifically for planning for employment that you can go, and it has this really great packet that you can download and give to families, and it's really very, very detailed where families can kind of read it on their own if they need to, and then they can be an active participant in the planning process. So that is it. Let's see. Are there any quick questions? We have, we will share the information for person-centered employment planning training, which we have. And does anybody have any quick questions for me? Sorry, I had to kind of zoom towards that end. You can't see the chat. All right, Eric's got the satisfaction survey up, thank you. All right, I'm trying to see what Gerald was asking for in the PowerPoint.
I think everything, for the most part, has been answered. We had a question a while back, wondering if Ty was going to eventually get a legal name change.
Actually, we have actually been talking about that. So that is something that we've actually been talking about because it does bother him so much. And I told him, you know, when you're 18, if you want to change it, you can. Yeah. So I will, thank you so much, Joseph and Kimberly. I apologize for having to kind of Zoom, but you know, when I talk about how person-centered thinking has helped Ty plan for his future, I really kind of get emotionally invested.
Yeah, and there was another question asking about Texas Transition Conference, if it was going to be virtual, which it will, and then if more information on this will be provided there as well.
Right. So I will give Vanessa the links to all the videos so y'all can go back and watch them. TTC is virtual. Registrations are up. You're still going to get your swag. We're going to be mailing that to you. I'm trying to get some really good swag for you. Some really, really great topics and great keynote speakers. So I really hope to see you at Texas Transition Conference, and the capacity building team has some time built in for y'all to come together and work. Thank y'all so much.
Yeah, thank you, Amy, too. I mean, really appreciate it. And it's always great to hear and learn more about it. And if, you know, if we are done, if you want to head out, if not, I think, Amy, you have time to sit around for some questions, and you can unmute yourself if you want to ask instead of type them out, or unmute it can happen through pushing on your space bar. I was trying to think of the name of that, or or down on the bottom left-hand corner of your screen.
Thank you, Ben and Linda and Lauren, Sarah. Thank you. I appreciate it. PCT is definitely something that is ingrained in my brain, and Ty's brain too. He makes one-page profiles for our cat. So he tells me what's important to our cat, what's important for our cat, and we can have conversations about her toys and which toys are important to her, important for her. Was it recorded? Yes, it has been recorded. Yes, Brenda, here's a training you can do to become a PCT trainer. Jeff Garrison Tate and Laura Buckner are the mentor trainers at the Institute. There is some information on the Institute website on what the steps are to becoming a mentor, to becoming a trainer, a certified trainer. So you can download that information and kind of see the steps that you have to take and the commitment that you need to have in order to do it.
Yeah, the recording is going. I just put a link to our website. We'll have the recording up, and usually we get it there the next day. Again, as I said earlier, as long as I don't think that I sent it and have actually forgotten. So we'll try to send it right when we're done here, and it should get posted within the next day or two.
I think someone asked if the trainings are, so the trainings for now are online. So they're not 2 days anymore. Now they're 4 days, 4 half days. And I have provided trainings for school. So if you're interested in having, me come out to your district and do some person-centered thinking training, please contact me and let me know. You're welcome. I'm really happy that Ty is willing to share his story. Because it has been really, really impactful. One of the stories that I didn't get to share was that, even though we've had 4 years of using trauma-informed support, he still has his moments of fight or flight. And about 2 weeks ago, he was in the classroom, he was getting frustrated in his Chinese class. He was cursing to himself, and the student next to him thought that he was cursing at him. So then that student cursed at him, and Ty went into fight or flight, and he was able to stop and think to himself, okay, I don't want to fight this kid, but I'm going to flee the situation. So he ran out of the classroom, was running down the hall, and the SRO officers got involved. So as a parent of an autistic man, that is my biggest fear. I provide training for our local police officers on how to support autistic people because I am that concerned. And one of the SRO officers had gotten Ty's one-page profile and actually sat with the teacher. So it wasn't just, hey, here's a piece of paper, read it. It was his teacher saying, hey, let me introduce you to Ty. Right, these are all the great things about Ty. And if you happen to see him in a moment where he's having a rough day, this is how we want you to help him. And he remembered that and was able to stop Ty and say hey buddy, what's going on? Tell me. And because Ty had, he trusted that individual, he also trusted the principal of the school. And this is something I totally didn't even know, because he has a great principal who goes and hangs out with the kids, bring breakfast at lunch. And Ty's a kid that just, makes you want to go talk to him. So the principal had got to know Ty. So then Ty asked the principal, or Ty asked to go talk to the principal. So then he had a conversation with the principal. And there was nobody focusing on, like, why did you run out of the classroom, right? It wasn't a thing. It turned out to be a really, really great experience because he was able to see that all those adults around him care about what he's feeling, and their focus was on helping him feel safe instead of him being punished for, what he did. Like, nobody had a conversation about cursing because we already know the cursing is going to happen, and it makes things worse if you're trying to talk about the cursing, make the cursing go away instead of digging deeper and dealing with why that cursing is happening to begin with. So every day I see how it's been helping him mature, helping him learn to advocate for himself, and then he uses it on me. Right? So if he sees me focusing on important 4, he'll tell me, like, Mom, you're getting frustrated with that work, put it aside and come hang out with me for a little bit. But pretty soon he'll be a PCT trainer too. Any other questions? I really appreciate y'all hanging out with me 12 minutes later.
All right, well, if that's it, I will end this soon. So I put the link in the beginning for our next training for our Hireability Navigator training, which I think everyone will enjoy. They'll get sent out by Vanessa soon. And until then, thank you guys so much, and y'all have a wonderful day.
Thank
Bye.
you all for coming. Bye-bye.
You need me to hang out, Eric?
Sure. About to hit leave, so you caught me just in time. I mean, we're probably fine, but guessing most people are.
Thank you, Alicia. I appreciate that.
I'm sorry, I was on mute. I was gonna say I loved it, loved it. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, iPad 3, whoever that is. Appreciate that. All right. Sorry about that. Usually I'm really good at being on time, but when I start talking about Ty, I kind of lose my path a little bit. But, well, that was it. I just wanted to, see how you thought it went.
Okay.
Looks like they enjoyed it.
They did. All right. Well, you take care of. I don't know. I'm sure you have to jump back on the Texas Transition Conference stuff. So, all right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye, y'all.